Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. It is Tuesday the 16th of June. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Rough and Hugh MacDonald are here with me. Delighted to have your company. The battle may have been lost, but the war goes on is the message in Scottish football. I think that's the best way to sum it up, because today, yet another twist. After the vote yesterday, which was only 16 of 42 clubs saying yes, they wanted reconstruction, suddenly Hearts had announced that they wanted to take legal action, and then today, after a statement which said that they wouldn't take legal action, suddenly this came out from Partick Thistle. And basically it says, yesterday we said court action was our preferred route to challenging our relegation. It was only a lack of funding that stopped us. At that time, we reserved the right to change our position should circumstances change. In response, we received a proposal to fund legal action should we wish to pursue it at no cost to Thistle. After careful consideration, we have accepted this extremely generous offer. Following discussions with Hearts, we have agreed that we will launch a joint legal challenge to resolve what others have failed to do since April. To those who think we should move on and accept what's been dished out to us, yesterday 26 clubs put themselves first. Today, we have been given the opportunity to do the same. And I think it's fair to say from that statement that the I'm all right, Jack exists and it's flourishing in Scottish football right now. We're now in a situation where we've got a war going on. What comes of it, I do not know, Hugh MacDonald.
Absolutely, but first of all, hats off to Roughie for funding that legal action. Don't know who. It must be his PLZ fees. Peter must be much more than mine. But now, I mean, all it's stripped away, Peter, now is that everybody is out for themselves. Any kind of thing that, for the greater good, whatever, which Thistle and Hearts once alluded to, that's gone now. I mean, Thistle self-admittedly say today, right, that's us in it for ourselves. By the way, I've got no problem with that, because that's what they think they have to do at the moment. But any pretense of a greater good for Scottish football, a level playing field, etc., has gone out the window, and now it reaches into something which is very, very interesting. I'd love to see the grounds or have an idea of Thistle and Hearts' strategy going forward. But what it does mean is that Scottish football is going to be mired in controversy, internecine battles for some months to come.
Yes, and with that in mind, of course, I looked at this press release. The minute I looked at it, Roughie, I thought to myself, joint partners with Hearts in this legal battle. Has James Anderson dipped into his pockets? I am told that he has not. I can only assume, Roughie, then, and let me again, 2 and 2 makes 5 in my head, that one of James Anderson's pals is funding this.
Well, at this moment, I don't think anybody knows who the benefactor is. He is anonymous at this precise moment in time, but he has come forward, and the club have been advised to take the money. Whoever's advising the club, what lawyer, think there is a case. As Hugh was saying there, I don't think it will be to get back in the division. I would imagine it would be a financial route to go down. I think the club think they've been dumped into a division that doesn't know when they're going to play football, and we're waiting to see if they are going to be playing football. So I think the club are very anxious that they've been dropped into a division where there'll be no football getting played till next January or February, which, as you can imagine, is going to be a huge loss of earnings, a huge loss of money, and I think the club think they shouldn't have to suffer that without a fight.
Now, as you know, Hugh, you and I have been resolute for 3 months on this, saying that we didn't think there was going to be reconstruction, and I certainly hoped that there would be something in the back of my head. I almost kind of had that Steven Spielberg nice little sentimental ending in my mind on this one, but it just didn't materialise. But I have to say, though, Hugh, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, okay, the horse is bolted. As Roughie said, they're not going to get back in the league. They might be recompensed financially, but I still think there's another twist in this, Hugh, which could be that some clubs might suddenly say they can't fulfil the fixtures or can't meet the criteria of starting, and it might open a door somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I think so too. How high up the ladder that applies is what might be crucial to this process. I certainly think that there's clubs in really severe problems at the moment, because it doesn't take you it doesn't take an economist to work this out. You know, there's money going out and there's no money coming in. So I think there's still turmoil out there, Peter. And anybody who knows precisely, or says he knows precisely what's going to happen in the next few months, I wouldn't believe, because I'm making phone calls, you know, on a daily basis to people on football, and they don't know what's going to happen. They can't give you cast iron guarantees as well. So the whole situation is very fluid. Is there a chance of league construction by default? I think there probably is, because I think there will be clubs that do drop out of the league.
Yeah, Roughie, we did ask Jackie Lowe if she wanted to come on, but like Ann Budge, they're taking a vow of silence at the moment on this one. You know, Partick Thistle, I can understand that the situation, more so I think it's going to be even more difficult for you guys because the championship starts in October, and then we're looking at League One and League Two and wondering, well, we just don't know, as you said, what's going to happen, who's going to be able to fulfill those fixtures. And I'm wondering what the technicality will be that Partick Thistle take this legally to the court. You know, is it a restriction of trade? Is it being denied playing in a market because, you know, you can fulfill certain criteria but others can't, that we've just been talking about?
Yeah, well, I think at the moment that is probably one of the avenues, because the only thing that we're hearing is, the Premiership will start on the 1st of August. Yeah, the Championship will start in October sometime. Not one mention of First and Second Division. And let's not forget, every club was asked, you know, when can they start? And I don't think anybody for the Championship said they couldn't start in October. First and Second Division, I read a bit in a paper that I can't remember what club it was or what chairman it was, says we couldn't let Brora in. Do you know how far it is to go up that A9? You know, that's why I said yesterday it was okay for 26 clubs to say, no, we're not having it. I think the board should have asked for reasons, and it should have been documented. And if there were valuable reasons, we all could have a look at it. But to have these excuses, we don't want Kelty in and we don't want Brora in because then we might get relegated. You know, as you said, it's so much self-interest, it's unreal. But the biggest beef I think we have is nobody said when we're playing football. And we've got 22 players have to be paid. As soon as they go back training, everything stops. So how can you pay them if you don't know when you're going to be kicking a ball?
Yeah, it's another good point. I'm going to take that further. I'm not going to leave that. I'm just going to mention a few people who've joined us. Hi to Paul Baird, David McGowan, Chris Burke, all on YouTube, by the way. And if you press the subscribe button, you'll be part of the football family. Stephen Rocks, first day back at work and now home with a beer. Happy days. Well done, Stephen. Great to see some people. Great to see some people joining us. We've been working right through this madness. And we've also got Stephen Stewart, who is in Derry. We've also got Jason Black-High there as well, and Patrick McFadden, who is in Donegal. William Gibson says he had a day off from the programme yesterday. I think he was laying carpets. So there you are. And Kent, the Destroyer, says, I think he was. I don't know if he was talking about Les Gray yesterday. He tore you lot to shreds. I'm not sure what he's actually talking about there. It might be something completely and utterly from, 10, 15 months ago. Sometimes people go off at a tangent, Hugh, and it's not worth mentioning it. Anyway, I fell foul of it. I don't know why. Hi to Stuart Derrick. Thank you, Stuart, for the very kind words. You enjoy the show. We certainly are absolutely delighted. Chrissy Dunnett, Chrissy, please, it's a football show. I don't care whether it's Derry or Londonderry. The people who watch the football just like football. So if you want to post a message about football, then by all means join us, especially on Facebook. Like, share and follow. The other part of this, and I think this is where there's a real danger, Hugh, Roughie, especially when you look at this, that people actually forget how the whole process started. They're forgetting about history. I noticed that Leslie Deans was interviewed in the Scotsman. He's the former Hearts chairman, and he says, only in Scotland do we choose to relegate a club on an incomplete season. That was one of his quotes. Now, Leslie Deans is being a little bit cute here, Hugh, with regards to the incomplete season, because there were mitigating circumstances between the SPFL and the government and what was going on with the crisis on a daily basis that eventually prompted the SPFL to call the season. So I think he's trying to be a little bit cute now and hope that people forget what the whole picture and how it unfolded. The part that has left everybody here miffed is after that vote, when everybody called the season, the reconstruction is a separate issue.
That's right. But there's so much ill-informed stuff from people who really should know better on social media at the moment, Peter. There's now people saying if we'd just shown a little bit of patience, we could have the season completed. In what way was patience going to get the season completed? The government has laid down regulations, right, that has just allowed footballers to go back into training. The government is laying down regulations. Yeah, yesterday, and they've laid down regulations about when, not events with crowds can start, but events full stop can start, what the protocols have to be in those, and decided that the earliest they could allow that to happen was August the 1st. This isn't a sort of SPFL decision that decided to say, well, we're fed up with this season, let's pack up the carpet and all go home. It's crazy what people are thinking about this. This season was called basically because it couldn't be completed. By the way, as a side issue as well, with people moaning and grumping out there, this was a unanimous vote by the SPFL to call the season. It was a unanimous vote. It wasn't like 9-4 and 3 against. Every club said no. We've just got to call it. It's because it's a reality. So that's a kind of red herring that should be dispatched into the corner. The other one is actually, as we talked about reconstruction. If you ask me to put on my cynical head, I always said that reconstruction was it was like telling Anne Budge to go and look for a burst ball in the grass just to keep her busy. Anybody who has any knowledge about Scottish football at all in terms of governance has known how difficult it is to engineer reconstruction of the leagues. To do it in the middle of a pandemic by Zoom, with 20 people or however who were on the board, two of whom quit before the board even started, was not just a long shot, Peter, but it was the kind of thing that makes Foynaven look like a certainty for the Grand National. I mean, it was just madness. It just anybody knows anything about it just knew it was a fool's errand.
And for the benefit of our younger viewers, Foynaven won the Grand National in 1967 at 100-1. And the reason why he won it is because every other horse fell. It's as simple as that. Last one standing. Anyway, I'm sure somebody's going to actually, message us now and say, no, there were actually a couple of horses who made it. But they didn't make it past Beecher's Brook when Foynaven got over it anyway. But nevertheless, a great point you make, Hugh. Roughie, the other unfortunate thing about this, and this is how it all starts to get even more poison, and I mean, again, last night I just kind of put out a tweet last night, Roughie, just on the basis that I just think, I'm not having sporting integrity anymore. There's division. There is, again, mistrust on a mass scale with regards to the SPFL clubs. And Hugh's 100% correct. The other thing about this now is we now have the fans jumping in, and we have, in the east of Scotland, a potential scaremongering story of the Hearts Federation of supporters saying that they might look at not going to any away ground apart from Inverness. Now, I mean, honestly, boycotting games, where are we going here? Not only can we not get into them, but then we'll boycott them once we can get in.
Yeah, I think we've been completely against any kind of boycott when anybody says, right, that's it, that don't go to the next game. We've already discussed and we've found out that football is nothing without supporters. So you would want every supporter available to go to the games when they start again. I obviously hope it's an idle threat, that a lot of good supporters want to see their team. They want to see their team playing. It's important that you have your own supporters in the stadium to give you encouragement and help you through the 90 minutes. So I do hope that's an idle threat, but obviously there'll be a lot of people very, very angry just now. And let's hope it calms down a wee bit later on.
Yeah, good news for Inverness, though, because at least they've got one friend in the SPFL, Hugh. Hearts.
Yep, quite. Yeah, the absolute bitterness, this will take some time to wash away, Peter. Talking to people, in Scottish football, the schism is absolutely huge. This is not something that's going to be repaired easily. I mean, there's actually people who told me that they would vote for anything that was seen. They would vote against anything that was seen to benefit Hearts or Inverness Caledonian Thistle. They would actually vote against that if it was seen to benefit them. That's how deep the bitterness is in Scottish football at the moment.
I mean, that for me is sad, Roughie. That's sad.
It is.
Some people. I think over the last few weeks, I think I've been accused of being a Stranraer supporter, a fanatical Hearts fan. What is wrong with looking and saying, for all of us as a group, let's try and save all of us. Let's all try and show some modicum of fairness here. And now we're in a situation where the whole thing is poison, and as Lesgray mentioned yesterday, the toxicity is incredible.
Am I wrong in saying that we're the only country in Europe that has done relegation? Am I right in saying that? There's no relegation in France, no relegation in Belgium, Italy, Spain, anywhere, just us.
Yeah, but can I pick you up on that, Roughie? Because this could be the interesting thing that I think a lot of people are going to grasp onto with regards to the legal challenge that both yourselves and Hearts are making. The difficulty here, Hugh, and this is where I think, once the lawyers benefit from going into court with this one, thankfully the clubs now won't have to pay for it, but is they were all members of the SPFL. They all had a vote to end the season, just as they had a vote for reconstruction. Regardless of how fair it seemed, it was a vote. Belgium and France was from the actual board who made the decision. So I think that technicality might be something that goes against Hearts and Partick Thistle if they're saying it was grossly unfair.
No. Peter, no, I'm not saying that is a reason to go to court. All I'm making a fact is that, are we the only country that has taken relegation on board?
Well, I think the Belgians contested it, but I don't know. My short answer to you is I don't know another country who's relegated a club. I know there's a couple of countries who've relegated clubs who've contested it, Roughie, but it was on the basis that it was made unilaterally by the board as an executive board rather than the clubs. And in Scotland, because every member had a vote as part of an organisation and as part of a set of rules that they all abide by, then the vote, if you cast your vote and democratically at the end of it, they agree for the league to be called and relegation, I don't know how that's going to play out in court. I genuinely don't. How many countries have actually awarded or resulted in relegation for clubs? I couldn't give you an exact. I know a couple of countries have contested it, Hugh.
Yeah, and the other thing is, relegation, of course, by points per game is not off the table in England yet either. I mean, if there's a further flare-up, that will be what they'll go back to on their fallback position. I think the interesting thing about all this is to reiterate again, is this wasn't a decision that was visited upon the SPFL by some avenging angel that flew over and deposited there. This was all the result of of pretty robust argument, openness, and a democratic vote. So That's the fact of the matter. People can argue about the Dundee vote going in and then being rescinded, but even without the Dundee vote, you're talking about a democratic vote of 79% of the clubs. So it's really interesting. I mean, I sympathise with Hearts and Partick Thistle and Stranraer that they see themselves going down by matter of almost whim or matter of diktat, and it's not hard to see why they would feel angry at that and want to protest against it. But again, I'll be really interested to see what their grounds for this legal challenge will be, and to see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. Over and above that, Roughie, Gary Mackay, and we had Gary on the show, great lad, has mentioned the fact that, listen, all this aside, the one key issue here is that Hearts wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't mismanagement in the football department. Something that he said on our programme weeks ago has been regurgitated today in the press. Nevertheless, I think it's a moot point now. It's a side issue, regardless of what carnage Craig Levein, who's been speaking over the last couple of days, regardless of his performance as a manager and his charge of what was going on behind the scenes in the academy and everything. That's gone now. Everybody accepts it was a disaster. Everybody accepts and there was a long time to wait for a new manager. And I think, Roughie, the other thing about this, while Hearts are spinning plates, is I don't think they'll have Daniel Stendhal in there. I think they'll look for someone else.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's been true to his word right for day one. He's obviously been there, seen it, and know what's going on behind the scenes more than a lot of people. And I think we wouldn't find many people who would disagree with his views and how the club has been run with Craig Levein there and staying there and not moving on. So you're right. That is the next big debate. I think for Ann Budge to make, whether the legal thing takes her eye off the ball. I don't know, but it's a decision she'll have to come to because, as we know, the boy has got a contract that says he can leave, and Hearts have got a bit in the contract that say that they can not offer him another contract. So I think we all know Robbo signed another 2 years. That just could be Inverness, sort of a safeguarding themselves. So I think we'll just have to sit and wait on that one because, he didn't really set the head on fire. So it's another big decision, and it'd be interesting to see whose ears she's going to fall on this time when she makes it.
Yeah. And John Aird has taken issue with you, Hugh. He says, Hugh MacDonald, you are wrong. If Dundee's original vote was counted, the season would not have been called. I mean, that's got Les Gray said yesterday, they were all ready to act on it because they were of the opinion that Dundee were going to vote no, but then, of course, only in Scotland could we make a back end of a vote.
But that's not what happened,
Yeah.
That's not what happened. That's what happened was the vote got stuck in a spam folder, and then the vote was resubmitted, and the vote allowed the season to be called. I mean, that's now a matter of record. So, what could have happened, should have happened, might have happened, is utterly irrelevant now. And remember as well that when Dundee submitted the vote, they had 28 days to change it as well. So they could have come back anyway and changed it, even if it had been counted. But and going forward on the season being called after that vote, there's it's a bit tedious to go back into this all again, but. Even if the season hadn't been called in that vote, I think with circumstances changing so quickly with what happened afterwards, I think there would have been another vote and it would be even more overwhelming to call the season. I mean, the season being called was an absolute reality. How you call it is a different way. Do you want to call it in the way it was called, or do you want to go down null and void? If you went down null and void, it would be financial catastrophe for every club.
Hugh, you're right, because what's happening again, as you mentioned here, and this is the problem, because if you look back over every show on this programme, especially in lockdown, chronologically as it was happening, there was a situation where day by day the situation was changing. The government were coming out on a daily basis and telling you what was happening with the deaths. Day by day, the SPFL were checking legally where they stood. Day by day, the SPFL were then consulting with UEFA, who were also hedging their bets on the big five leagues, never mind the smaller leagues. So all of this has been forgotten in the whole process of the way it was all panning out. So, sometimes it's good to go back over that historical fact and the madness that then ensued. But nevertheless, the upshot of this is, Roughie, and we've only just gone over it for about 60 seconds there, but the upshot of this all is, never mind you two clubs, the two clubs going and taking legal action. I think what's happened across the city in Leith, Easter Road, is an indication of what's coming up shortly throughout the whole of Scottish football. Now, Hibs, who were free of debt, suddenly in a situation where they've announced that they've asked the players to take wage cuts. I think there are three of their coaches, Colin Nish, Grant Murray, and Lee Makel, who look as if they could be made redundant. So when you look at a club of Hibs stature and the way they've been operating, and I think it's been good the way they've been operating, Ron Gordon and, of course, Leanne Dempster, suddenly they're making cuts. And I think more will follow right across the board. The ripple effect of this isn't really, it's the tip of the iceberg for me, Roughie.
Yeah, I don't think supporters realise, that what goes into a club and what goes out of a club. And obviously wages are a high part of that. Certain clubs will have a lot more budgets than everybody else, so they'll have to cut their cloth accordingly. But it just shows you that when Ann Budge 2 months ago came out and said, right, you need to take a wage cut, and everybody was slaughtering her, she was probably looking to the future and seeing what was going to happen. So she was trying to get ahead of it. And I think a lot of players will now have to accept that's the way ahead. I mean, even the Premier League and the Championship aren't going to have any fans until whenever. So you're talking lots and lots of money going out of the club. And as I said already, and I don't know the finances of other clubs, but there are a lot of big clubs already in extremely big debt, that are having to get money off people. We see them through this month and that month, and we see every club that's posting a loss, and most of it is loss. There's clubs at 1.7 million. Dundee United, I think, was 3.5 million. So, I mean, there is going to be a black picture out there, and it's how you handle it and how the players buy into saving their clubs.
How you pronounce it? I would say Connor Menzies. Some people say Connor Minges.
Yes,
I'm not quite sure, Hugh. You say tomato, I say tomorrow. You're just about to say, let's call the whole thing off. Connor says, you guys make my work enjoyable. The only downfall is I need to pause in between for work calls. And it's always difficult when that happens. There's nothing worse than work getting in the way of the show, Hugh.
That's right, exactly. I never let it get in the way of the show, so I don't see why anybody else should. But it's interesting. I would, one of these things we've had to say, it's very interesting what the fans out there think about it going forward. I think it's very... This in essence, as you know, Peter, is a show that wants to involve the fans, wants to be fueled by fans' debate. And I just wonder if there's anybody, if anybody on YouTube or whatever platform, Facebook at the moment, and wants to send in what they think is the way forward, what their fears are, because quite frankly, at this moment in time, you're as well as formed as most of us, because this is an unprecedented, that great word again, situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there are lots of people offering their thoughts on it. And again, Stephen Hill says, listen to this, Hugh. Hugh Keevans on Radio Clyde said it will just be starting off in Championship and compensation if Hearts win. It won't delay the season from starting. Well, if Keevan says it, then that must be it then.
Right,
let's go home. I think I'll phone him just to get clarification on this. As if suddenly Hugh is the light, the way, and the truth on this one. If he did know, Hugh would be down the bookies putting somebody else's fiver on it, not necessarily his.
I mean, this nobody. I mean, nobody. The situation. That's why it's so intriguing, because what you want to know, for example, right away, is what is Hearts and Thistle's strategy on this. What are they going to sue over? What do they want recompense for? And how do they think they're going to get about it? I think that's the most intriguing thing to me, Peter.
Well, let's not hang about on that, Hugh. Roughie, any chance you could just
Yeah.
I'm looking over. If I could put my fist over into your section there, just a wee scalp in the head. What's the legal case? What are you taking on this, Roughie?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not privy to that legal case. As you said, it is going to be very, very interesting. I don't think for a minute Anne Budge, and I know you're going to say lawyers make money, they're the only ones that make it, but I think Anne Budge is a very sensible businesswoman, as Jackie is, and they'll have the ears of whoever, and if they think that there's something they can get out of this, then I don't think they'll be doing it. They'll not just be doing it for the fun of it. They'll be doing it for an end purpose. But it'd be interesting, as you said, to find out, is there going to be some legal challenge to the league starting? That would be something, But lawyers come out with all different things. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not privy to what they're going for.
Yeah, but with all due respect, if it halts the league, that's a disaster.
Oh.
I mean, that is basically a disaster. I can't see that happening. I can see the legal challenge being on the financial burden that's being placed on a club, and it's not of their doing. I can see that. I can see that being an end game here. But to stop and suddenly strangle everybody else, that's a big leap, Hugh, for me.
Yeah, I mean, the spectre of an interim interdict being called to suspend the league or to put the league in limbo until this is debated would be an incredible move. I don't see. I mean, but again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't see I don't quite see that happening. But if it did, it would be cataclysmic for Scottish football. I think. From what I can, glean from talking to lawyers outside, and certain lawyers that have sort of wide experience in this area, they're intrigued as well as to how they'll go. I mean, they see ways forward. Don't get me wrong; they don't rule it completely out, but they're intrigued to see just what line of attack Hearts and now Partick Thistle will take.
Well, the good thing about it is I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. Tomorrow we have a lawyer on the programme, and we'll get his take on it. And hopefully within the next 24 hours, some other development will give us an insight into what the structure of that challenge is. And then you'll hear on tomorrow's programme, if you join us, of course, I'll be there with Tam McManus, Roughie, and our special guests. So join us if you can for that. As ever, who'd have thought we'd have been chatting to lawyers about this whole debacle, but that's the way it's all unfolded, to be perfectly honest with you. Interestingly enough, Niall Kane says there, what do you make of Roughie? Motherwell have signed 3 players. Yes. I mean, Nathan McGinley, a 23-year-old left back, in again. They are just scurrying about in the background, getting on with it.
Yeah, well, Motherwell are definitely not one of the clubs that I'm talking about that are in debt. They're a very, very well-run club. They've been very fortunate. They've sold some players on for a lot of money. So the people who run the club are running it properly. And that's why they can do that. That's why they've got the money, because they're bringing their own players through and selling them on and making the club healthy. So, yeah, they're in a good place. There's no doubt about that. We saw how good place they're in, where they finished in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to Alison Sarah Carroll. She's one of our top fans. She says, Peter, the PLZ show makes my lockdown a lot better. Well, for that wee hour of the programme with special guests thrown in every now and then, we try and have a bit of banter. I must admit, though, Hugh, the last couple of days have been really hard to have a bit of banter, because it's been such I'm trying to sum it up, but it is disheartening. When you start to see it unfold and you start to think, oh my God, how can you be positive about anything? Because, we're liking this show, we like a little bit of a noise up, but the topic has just been putting you on a downer.
Well, we're 36 minutes in, according to my sundial, and we haven't mentioned haven't mentioned a footballer's name or a game of football, or and that's because the business, the governance of football has just swamped everything else, Peter. And I think I make no apologies for that, for addressing it, and I don't think the show should either, because it's what's at the forefront of Scottish football at the moment, and it's what we should be discussing. And I fear, Peter, that it'll be something that'll be discussed for quite some time, even after the football gets started, because these legal actions, the financial implications for clubs, and what is going to happen once the game gets back, is going to provide really, fodder for much discussion and debate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the question that I think will come up shortly, Roughie, and it'll sum this whole affair up, is certain clubs, will they be able to fulfil all the safety measures that need to be there, the costs associated with it? No fans coming in. I think the real pain of that is about to hit home. Of course, people don't have jobs, so there will be a real kick in the teeth for clubs with merchandise. There's certainly not going to be any food sold at the games because nobody's going to be in there. Players' wages, staff running costs, and then the ability to fulfil the fixtures. All of that, for me, Roughie, will start to formulate the next month's news.
Yeah, I think a lot of the clubs will have to be very imaginative. They'll have to come up with a lot of things to raise money. Come in. A lot of clubs have done that. Our club in particular, our supporters have been fantastic with all the things we've done. I think we were talking about £150,000, which is superb. And a lot of clubs have done it as well. And I think that's the only, keeping the fans on board, keeping them, showing them games, showing them own games, getting them to sign into things. That's the way ahead. That's the only income that they're going to have. So if you've been very good to your supporters, then they'll be good to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Here. I'm going to give a few mentions out. Just again, Joe Collum goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Why was there a vote on reconstruction if final placings had not been settled? Joe, I think you only have to just keep going back through our programmes to see how the whole thing unfolded. Dean Riley says, I'm not happy with the Hibs layoffs. I think, some fans will be looking at it, especially the Hibs fans, and thinking, this is not on, this is not good. But I think Hibs are actually just being prudent like everybody else now as they start to see the figures that are unfolding in their company with no fans, Hugh.
Yeah, well, Dean, I think everybody's unhappy with layoffs in football. We don't want to see people losing jobs, and we don't want to see even wage deferrals, because, as people just not getting their money that are due by contract. But the reality is, and it's an unfolding reality, for the reasons that Peter has released at the moment, clubs are sitting now, and they're going to be totting up, right, like you and I and everybody else under lockdown, what is coming through the door in terms of cash, and what is going out. And what is coming through the door ain't much, and what is going out is much more than that. So they're really going to be I think this is just the beginning of the severe decisions, and it's going to unfold, because it's just a simple economic fact. If you've got very poor income and large outgoings, it just doesn't balance up.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well, Peter, we're just talking about first team players who are getting laid off. What's happening to the youth players? What's happening to youth football? What's happened to the up and coming young boys who might, through no fault of their own, they said, look, unfortunately, we need to let you go. So that's going to knock clubs back as well throughout the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's got repercussions as well. A big hi to James McConnell, who's watching the programme in Mexico. Roughie, you loved Mexico. You got a chance. You got a chance to supplement your tan, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I have to say that Mexico, I went down a wee bit in Mexico because I've been watching the bridge. I don't know if it's on the TV. It's about the border between Mexico and America and the things that go on in between. So I'll just be staying just to the side of the resorts. I don't think I'll be getting into the city.
Yeah, just for the benefit of other people there, don't be offended by Roughie saying, I don't know if you guys can see it on TV, because Roughie's the only one with TV that gets, programs that mere mortals can't see. I mean,
yes, obviously.
No, but it's a programme I've never heard. It was actually Hugh's good lady that put me onto it. Through one of our,
that's a blow. Well,
I know.
So if she says
3
it's
months,
good, that's good
3
enough
months,
for me.
3 months Hugh hasn't seen her, and suddenly, because you can get out, that is outrageous. Honestly, you need to have a long hard look at yourself, Rough.
Is there any sentence in the world more designed to chill your blood than Roughie mentioning what your partner has put him onto?
That's exactly it. That's it. Honestly, Hugh. Anyway, listen, there are. You'll be happy to know that there are 3 good positive stories I'm going to talk about now.
Great.
Wow.
So, the first one I'm going to talk about, and I think it fills my heart with joy, as it does with everybody associated with football, is the work of Marcus Rashford, the Manchester United striker. Because watching this story unfold, and I'm not going down a political line on it, although he certainly, with his letter to the politicians, was pleading with them because of his own experiences of growing up with his mum and his family, and the difficulties in getting food, and obviously relying on free vouchers and a lot of things that they couldn't afford. They needed handouts. So Marcus Rashford made a plea to the government to continue the free school meal vouchers during the holidays, which would affect about 1.3 million kids. Now, this was going to stop, and Marcus Rashford, to his credit, I think he's raised about £20 million in this lockdown, and for that lad not to forget his roots, I think it's absolutely superb. And the government has performed a U-turn and said, look, in England, obviously in Scotland you still get your vouchers anyway, but in England they will get the vouchers. What a heartwarming story that is. That's up there with Captain Tom for me, Hugh, in this lockdown.
Oh, absolutely. And if anything, I think even beyond it. I mean, in what world are we living in, Peter, where people are rubbing their chins wondering whether to feed 1.3 million hungry kids in our country? When did that ever become a debate? When did it become a dilemma? Should we do this? So good on Marcus Rashford for confronting this head on and saying, listen, up with this we shall not put, and the government just literally having to. There was a really ill-advised tweet today by a member of the cabinet in reaction to Marcus Rashford, Therese Coffey, and it showed still that there's just some people who are hard of thinking, shall we say, in the government at the highest level. But good on Marcus Rashford. He's pushed forward. He's won support for it. He's raised money. And again, it exposes that canard, Peter, of people always saying, oh, footballers are just in it for this and footballers in that. We know footballers, and we know what a lot of footballers do for charity. We know what a lot of footballers do very, very quietly for charity as well. And they're not the beasts that the government was proposing at the beginning of lockdown.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Hugh, because right at the start, they became public enemy number one and the front and centre of the target. But this is a great story for a lad who hasn't forgotten his roots, Roughie.
Good on him.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and it's something that I think the majority of us will never have encountered, but it's there. And I think the good thing about everything that's happened in this virus is that people like that are now becoming at the forefront, and we're now actually trying to help poor people who are living out in the street, the NHS, everybody that nobody ever thought were high up there in the ladder. And now this situation that we're all in, these people are now getting the credit that they're due, and it's certainly very heartwarming when you see these things. And we've already seen for the football side, Mr. Anderson giving money to the football. There must be lots of people, millionaires out there, doing a lot of good things behind the scenes. And I hope a lot more of them do something as well, because they're the ones that can sort it out. I've said it to you millions of times, walking down Buchanan Street and seeing people living in shops is an absolute no for me in this day and age with the amount of wealthy people that are out there. We should be doing more for all these people.
Okay, don't forget, we're on Panorama tomorrow at 9:30 when we'll be talking about other issues as well. What's happening here? Suddenly, Roughie's on his soapbox. Not for Rough. That's what I'm saying. Not for Rough. Anyway, apart from anything else, well done, Roughie. You've changed over the last month, Roughie. Something. So you've taken a tablet somewhere along the line. Not the one that Barry gave you. The other thing I was going to say was James Anderson that you mentioned. Has also donated £250,000 to the Scottish Football Partnership Trust to save the women's game from the hardship of COVID-19, Hugh.
Yeah, it's the COVID-19 thing in the women's game has been really it's been really harsh. It was coming at a time as well when the women's game in Scotland looked to be getting more professional, more organised. We saw Rangers and Celtic and investing heavily in their teams, full-time managers and presenting a challenge to the likes of Hibs and Glasgow City, who have carried the banner. So it looked a really exciting time for women's football. It looked at a time where it could just about take off on the back of the World Cup. Then, of course, COVID-19 comes along and kicks it when women's football is down. So I'm very pleased that this cash injection has come in, and let's hope that the momentum that women's football has garnered continue to roll.
Yeah, Michael Climey says, well done, Roughie. See, you've got people automatically reacting right away, and that's your wife Maggie's just fallen over because she can't believe that you're making political points on the show as well now, Roughie. But the other point I was going to say to you with regards to this is, it is a good point that we talk. We don't want to be too political on these things, but when football and sport and individuals can make a difference, and especially in this lockdown, it's something to be commended. And well done to Marcus Rashford, well done to James Anderson yet again, especially with the women's game. And also coming up, we're going to be talking about Golden Boy Award that's coming up. And if you haven't heard of it, I'll be telling you about it very, very shortly. But also tomorrow, for the benefit of anyone who's wondering what a real football match looks like. I mean, we've watched Germany, we've watched Spain come back, but tomorrow it's the return of the English Premier League. Liverpool have been robbed of winning the title in front of a crowd, but they could wrap up the Premier League against Merseyside rivals Everton. Jurgen Klopp's team currently sit a massive 25 points ahead of champions Manchester City. City will be dethroned as champions but are set to secure second place in the table. Pep Guardiola's side still have the FA Cup and the Champions League to settle, but their mood could be impacted by the ruling of the CAS appeal on their European ban. Frank Lampard is on course for a top four finish in his first season in the EPL. Chelsea still have the FA Cup to contest as well as confirming a European spot. The Blues also have the formality of this season's Champions League to conclude, having lost a first leg 3-0 to Bayern Munich. Manchester United were on an unbeaten run stretching back to January when the season was halted. Solskjaer's side sit fifth in the table and are in line for a Champions League spot. A blockbuster opener against Spurs will be followed by games mainly against the bottom six. Arsenal were on a roll under Mikel Arteta before he contracted the coronavirus back in March. The Gunners had hauled themselves back into European contention before the shutdown. Arsenal's game in hand against Manchester City will be vital to how the season will pan out if it's going to be decided on a points per game basis. Villa currently sits second bottom, but a win in their game in hand over Sheffield United could push them into 16th place. The influential John McGinn will hand Aston Villa a boost with his return from injury. But a tricky fixture list means it's an uphill battle to stay up. Aston Villa will be hoping to take it to the final day against West Ham. Yeah, so people are looking forward to it. Are you looking forward to it, Roughie?
Yeah, I think you are, because obviously we saw the German football starting, and obviously the crowd not there. It took a lot away from the game. But I think with the English football is that they've got a lot of big stars there, and all the teams, Man City and Chelsea, and they're the guys you like to see. You like to see the big name players. Again, I don't know what they'll do for atmosphere. I hope it's something. We're all going to watch it anyway. We're going to watch, because they've got something to play for. You've just described there, winning cups, leagues, getting into Europe. So a lot of big players and players we all like seeing. So yeah, I think we'll be tuning in. But I think we have to accept it's not going to be the same without the fans.
I'll certainly watch it because I want to see Liverpool win the league, Hugh. But the one thing I'm worried about is quite simply outside the ground, because if the evidence is there and the conduct of some people over the last couple of weeks, never mind here but in Europe as well, fans are going to congregate outside football grounds, and that's a big no-no.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, in personal experience as well, Peter. I was out today to do my weekly shop, and I really saw a sea change in the week since I've been out for the shop, in the way people are dealing with the lockdown. I think there's almost like a truce has been called, and the white flag has been put up, and the war is over, which of course it's not. So yeah, that is a worry. That is a definite worry, and it'll have to be strongly policed. On the positive side, I'm looking forward to it because I love English football. I've loved it since I was a kid, Peter, which was a long, long time ago, when football was played in black and white. But I've also loved it for a couple of things coming back. Just two little points coming back. One is John McGinn coming back to full fitness when he's, coronavirus in that way has worked for him, for Aston Villa, that he's been allowed to recuperate during it. And I think he's hugely important. Everybody talks about Grealish, but McGinn's the heartbeat of that team, so that's important. And the other one I would throw in is Billy Gilmore, Peter. He played in a friendly against QPR on Saturday. Now that's a big deal, playing in a friendly, because it was the first competitive game. It was the game, the first 11v11 that Chelsea had, and Frank Lampard chose to play him. He scored twice as well from a deep line position. Another thing as well is that there's a strong report that Lampard and Chelsea might be wanting to use N'Golo Kante as a make weight to sell him to Real Madrid, and to get a transfer kitty up for players like Havertz and Werner, who's already agreed a deal. So does that make Billy Gilmore's place more likely in the team? I think it does. I think the signs are really good for Billy Gilmore at the moment, that that he might be given a regular chance. So that's really exciting to me, Peter. Both those thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Hugh, because suddenly we have, through Tutto Sport, the Golden Boy Award, which has been going for quite a considerable amount of time, and they highlight some of the most promising players across Europe, and in there, Billy Gilmore and Karamoko Dembele of Celtic. Of course, Phil Foden has been one of those players that's certainly been attracting attention for quite a while as well. Jadon Sancho, where will he end up? Is it Borussia Dortmund? Will he be on his way to the likes of back to Man City or elsewhere, depending on the fee? But again, great to see Billy Gilmore in there, and Karamoko Dembele. I'm just so gutted that Dembele has chosen to go the England way for the moment.
Yeah, that's for the moment. I mean, there's still time to for that to be reversed and changed, but that is a bit of a blow. But really exciting names on that list. I mean, two of them I've watched regularly. Well, I wouldn't say regularly, but I watch it regularly on television. I've saw live on a few occasions, Sancho and Haaland, and they are extraordinary players, Peter. I mean, Haaland came on the other week there, had two touches. They brought him on last half hour. He had two touches, but one of them got the winner. So he's got this incredible ability to score goals from little. So he's going to go on, and I think Sancho is a possibility down the line for Ballon d'Or. I think that's how good Sancho is.
And the funny thing is, Roughie, Alec Kelly says, Scotland should be building their side around the likes of John McGinn and Billy Gilmore, which the way the internationals have been pushed back, the next 6 months, Billy Gilmore could be the linchpin that the whole team is built around if he keeps progressing the way we hope he will.
Yeah, well, we all know we've got a nucleus of a young side, breaking into first teams down in the English Premiership, which is great. And you're right, the more games he gets under his belt, the better he'll get. and then you won't have an excuse to leave him out. You have to put him in. But I think the midfield is as strong as we've ever been. And obviously we all go on about the defence and we need a top-class striker, all that stuff. But, I think we've got to be positive. I think it's fortunate we've got two massive games if we get round to playing them for the qualifying, and it might just be the right time for a lot of the players rather than, I think we would have beat Israel anyway, but I think the next game would have been a tough one. But I think that the players will get more experience the more games they get.
Yeah. Richard Class says, slightly tongue-in-cheek, he says, who would want to play for Scotland anyway? We'll come back, Hugh. We will come back. It's an absolute certainty, isn't it?
Well, I think there's real causes for optimism. I mean, we're absolutely very strong in midfield. If we get, yes, we've got centre-back to look at, but can somebody can we play a back three, and can maybe Kieran Tierney be part of that back three? Could somebody like McTominay play in the back three? Can other guys like Ryan Porteous really kick on and become part of it? And we're good in wide areas. I think Ryan Fraser is an excellent player. And up front, I don't think we're as badly off as people think up front. Whatever you think of Ola McBurney, he's a £20 million striker. Now, I can hear the laughter out there. He's a striker playing in the English Premier League, which there'll be many countries in Europe would like to have as a starter. A player playing in the English Premier League. I think Lee Griffiths is getting stronger as we go on. Will Lawrence Shanklin really click on in the Premiership as well? So I see, and I'm very convinced about the manager, Peter. I'm convinced about him. I think he will lay down a format, lay down a way of playing that'll suit the group.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Steve Clark. Gary McGurn says, Roughie, listen to this. Gary McGurn says, hi guys, sorry I'm late to the programme. My dad wanted me to cut the grass. I mean, honestly, Roughie, some people need to get their priorities right here. You get in and you get the show and you say to your dad, look, the grass can wait. This is big stuff we're talking about. Yeah,
it's terrible. Shocking decision. It's a yellow card, at least.
Oh, it's a stonewall certainty, Roughie. You're absolutely right. I've seen people booked for less. And the other thing I was going to say to you guys, every day, and it's amazing, Hugh, because as you start to get to the point where your wife says to you, look, we'll start cleaning out rooms. I've started opening boxes. And it's just been magnificent. Not only am I finding mad photographs of great days, and I'm posting them, and my mates and we're having so much hilarity with it. I mean, yes, Roughie, you and I, we've got to, it's a stonewall certainty, we've got to start coming out with photographs, Roughie, of some of the gear that we used to wear when we were younger, because Hugh, I am pulling out gear that I used to wear when I was 19, 20, 21 in Edinburgh. Honestly, there was a wee shop in the Grass Market that my mate used to own, and he would sell me designer stuff that he said, oh, it looked great on me. But it's the most ridiculous stuff you have ever seen in your life. How I managed to buy it, I'll never know. But the other thing, Hugh, is I've opened a box and I've started to find some gems. What about this, Hugh? What about this? And it's still got the velour fabric there is still in great condition. And I kind of say to you, Hugh, Des McKeown, you know Des, and I, yes. We went down. We were running the London Marathon, and Des and I went into a shop called Classic Football Shirts, and I think it's Brick Lane in London. And this, take a guess at how much this shirt was going for in Classic Football Shirts.
Well, I wouldn't have a clue. I wouldn't have a clue, Peter.
300 quid.
What?
300 quid?
I'd want Roughie in it for 300 quid.
Well, I was going to say to you, Roughie, this is the 1977 non-top that I wore when I was a boy. I think I was about 10 or 11. And I loved it that much that I folded it up, put it in a box now, and I've kept it in pristine condition. That's a cracker, isn't it?
It's a beauty.
Was that when you were 10 and 11 stone?
Listen,
Listen,
Ruffy, when I get out and spend a little bit more money on the tennis coaching, you are going to get rattled. If not in the game, certainly with the racket.
Was that the? Was
no,
that?
It was
that
Primo.
Was that the team we Mo went to?
Yes, but this was before he signed.
All right. Yeah.
Nantes. It was a classic shirt, and one of my mates who runs a great, shop that sells. He does designer T-shirts and everything. He's got a great photograph of Bob Marley wearing this top because Bob Marley loved his football. Hugh MacDonald. I don't know if you know.
He did. Oh, I did, and I've actually seen videos of Bob Marley play football. Keep you up, etc., etc. I loved his football, and it's very funny because it was last night as well. There was stuff on Twitter about Gil Heron and his son Gil Scott Heron. Gil Scott Heron, of course, the writer of The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, and so many other great songs that have been so prescient in present times. His father, of course, was Gil Heron, that played for Celtic.
Yeah, The Bottle was my favourite Gil Scott Heron song.
Yes,
I don't know if
what a great song.
Yep. Yeah, no point looking at Roughie because he was into The Bachelors.
Not only did I listen to it, Peter, I lived it.
Yeah, well, that's another. Please do the book, Hugh, because I would go and buy it. I wouldn't even ask for a freebie. I'd buy you a book just to see the carnage of your life. Listen, Roughie, since you started that, everybody's been giving me pelters here. Jim Cunningham says you'd struggle to get into that now, Peter. And Stuart Ramsey says, Peter, don't wear that in a built-up area after midnight. You'll get done for breach of the peace. And would you believe it, Hugh MacDonald? Mark McGee sent me a message on Instagram yesterday saying, there's no danger you'd still get into that. And I said to him, I can get my head through the bottom, but I just can't pick a bash after it because I can't see anything. But by the way, great strip. And tomorrow, Rocky, I'm going to pull out the 1990 World Cup top Scotland as well, which is minted condition.
Tomorrow I shall show you a jumper that I found in the bottom of a drawer, and you have to tell me how old it is.
Is this a jumper that you would have worn out in the town?
Yeah. It was a jumper that got presented to some. I won't tell you when because that'll be the giveaway.
Right.
Okay.
But this was when you say it's a jumper that's presented to you, is it
just a jumper
for fashion?
Not a football jumper for fashion.
Right.
Yes.
Right, fantastic! I can't wait for that, Hugh. Hugh, I don't know about yourself, but if you've got any gear that you've still kept, some of the stuff I've got to show them tomorrow is mental. Well, I don't know how I get into a nightclub in Edinburgh.
I haven't got any in my gear because you're talking about flares and platform shoes for me. You're talking literally a half a century ago. But as part of a clear out, I was looking through old pictures, Peter, and one dropped out because today it's been a party political broadcast that we've been on today, quite rightly. One picture fell out that was me and Maggie Thatcher together, sitting on a desk in the Herald, which chilled my blood today when I saw it falling out when she came around to visit the Herald, and that was many years ago. Many years ago.
And I have to ask you, Hugh, did she speak to you?
Yes, she was. It's quite a. Oh yeah, she was. I was chief sub at the time, so I was sort of designing and laying out the paper. So she came up and coquettishly sat on the edge. I'll show you coquettishly sat on the edge of my desk, legs crossed. But there was tremendous security around me. So then being the son-in-law, Peter, of a Cowie miner. She didn't stay for long.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
let's not let Hugh pontificate about his brilliant socialist roots because the last 10 years has seen all his grandparents turn in their grave. Is that fair, MacDonald? Is that fair? I ask you.
That's right. Yes, that's right. I'm now writing for Her Majesty's Daily Mail, so that's where I'm at the moment.
Did you get very nervous when you spoke to her, Hugh? Did you get very nervous? Because I was a wee bit shy when the Queen shook my hand at the Queen's Jubilee when we were standing in the lineup, and I'm standing beside Kenny Dalglish, and she came out and she said to Kenny, "You're having a very good season, Kenneth." And then she came to me and she said, "Your team's not doing particularly well this year, is it?" Somebody must prompt him. Somebody must tell him.
Listen, Roughie, the Queen would have known Thistle were murder. She probably thought they were called Thistle nil.
What she wanted to do was quiz you about Kubias, but she was just trying to be a wee bit gentle.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I apologise to all and sundry for the name dropping that's gone on here. It's absolutely, these two are outrageous with the name dropping, but nevertheless, it's all a bit of fun. One of our viewers has said Roughie's jumper is one of those ones that the goalies used to wear when they were playing in goal. I mean, goalies did wear heavy duty jumpers in the day. I mean, am I thinking around about Bert Troutman? Is that would that be the heavy jumpers?
Yeah, and I remember one of the first times I get into a Scotland squad, and the kit put on your bed in your room, and it was the old yellow jersey, and unfortunately for me, I'd just gotten the jersey that Peter McCloy used to wear. So, as you can imagine, I had to roll the sleeves up about 5 layers before I could actually wear the thing because they were so long. It stretched it beyond repair.
Brilliant. Listen, I'm going to say to you guys just before we go, Roughie, I think it's fair to say we started off on a very serious note, and it was usual that's gone on in Scottish football over the last 3 months. The arguments continue, the divisions are there for all to see, the wounds are still open and raw, and I think there's more to come, to be perfectly honest with you, not only from Partick Thistle and Hearts. But I think quite a lot of the infighting, for people to think it's over now, I think that will continue while we witness, the despair over more and more footballers and staff of football clubs losing their jobs.
Yeah, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to hear some more horrendous stories from every club. I think the reasons why they have to let players go, and already just now the most of it's been financial. We had to let them go because it was out with the budget, and I think it's going to be a horrible time if you're a footballer, and it's even going to be a more horrible time if you're not the top player at a club because you're the guy who's going to be sacrificed in this whole scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. Hugh, I know Roughie's watching the bridge, but I might as well just give you the schedule for the Premier League. As you can see, here are the matches coming up that you might be able to look at. Of course, it's Villa against Sheffield United, Man City against Arsenal. There's a few crackers. Tottenham against Man United, well worthy of us watching as well. And Everton against Liverpool. Would you be happy watching those games with crowd noise dubbed in as well as the CG effects of a crowd from the stand? Hugh, are you happy with that sort of thing?
Yeah, I would take it, but actually, I've been I'm so obsessed with football. I've been one of the few people. I thought I'm okay with it without even crowd noise. I've been watching Dortmund regularly, every game that Dortmund's played, and I've been really surprised at how much I've got into it, how enthusiastic, how I'm still shouting at the telly, I'm still jumping up when Dortmund score. So I mean, it's obviously, we know this, it's got to be better with the fans in it. But I've been okay. I'm just so pleased I've got football back. And one of the things about it, I was talking to somebody yesterday, Peter, that the lack of crowd noise makes the noise of the ball louder, and you can see the way these guys, the pace and the intensity and the way they're pinging the ball to each other now. You can actually see the intensity. Yes, fans would be great, but I'll take what we've got.
Yeah, Peter, okay, Peter, fair enough.
Peter,
Roughie?
Just remind us, where are we seeing these games on? What station are we watching them on? Who's got the contract for these games? I just want to know. Please don't tell me it's BT.
Listen. I swear to God, you'll get them on Sky, right? You get
that's
them on
okay.
Sky.
That's all
and
worried about. That's fine.
you'll get a couple of them on BBC. But I kid you not, Hugh. Before we go, I get a phone call from him the other day there, and he said, "This is what goes on between me and Roughie off here." He phones me up, and I can hear Maggie in the background. He phones me up and he said, I've ordered the Disney Channel. And I said,
Plus.
well, what to
Well
do?
done, huh?
Disney Plus, that's magnificent. I don't know how to get it. So I've got to make a FaceTime call to try and talk him and Maggie through how to get Disney Plus. Honestly, you could not believe it, by the way. And he hasn't updated his telly, so it was still B Sky B. That's how long ago it is, just to give you an indication. Anyway, Roughie, you'll get it on Sky and you'll get it on the BBC. Watch it. And of course, Roughie, as ever, always likes to keep us up to date with a few box sets as well. So, Hugh, stay safe. Roughie, stay safe. And of course, follow the rules, everyone. They are still in place. There's a long way to go in this one, but hopefully sooner or later we'll get actually a chance to go out and attend football matches as well. But follow the rules. Like, share, follow us if you can. This week we'll be giving away a T-shirt to some of you who have been liking, sharing and following us on Facebook. If you subscribe on our YouTube channel, thank you very much for that. And of course, follow us on Twitter and Periscope as well. From Hugh, from Roughie, from myself, Peter Martin, stay safe and thank you for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit Arnold Clark